Welcome back. The payment of subsidies has created a divisive line amongst Nigerians from all walks of life. One part believes that due to several economic issues, Nigerians cannot afford to buy petrol at prices obtainable across the world, and the total removal is synonymous with hardship for Nigerians. On the other hand, they believe it's high time the government removed subsidies on fuel and diverted the funds into other sectors of the economy. Well, let's get talking now. What is the solution to the oil and gas sector in Nigeria? We have joining us Bala Zaka. He's a petroleum engineer and chartered accountant. Hello, Bala. Good to have you on board.
Thank you.
All right, so now we're looking at the oil and gas sector in Nigeria. According to the reports we have, the crude oil production in May averaged 1.42 million barrels per day. And this actually reflects a 70,000 barrel per day increase. How did we achieve this?
Well, somehow, somewhere, even in difficult moments, some people will still be able to adapt and be able to survive. But practically, by the time you take the average or you go across the board, you will discover that overall productivity will go down or will be below the curve. But that does not mean some will not survive, whether in wartime, whether in health, whether in oil and gas, whether in education. Just like the way we're talking about the difficulties with education in Nigeria, the ASU crisis, the other causes. Some people are still surviving, but that does not mean on the average, the quality of education is not being affected in Nigeria.
All right, still talking about May figures, it's averaged 1.42 million barrels per day. We're looking at, is there a possibility that Nigeria can still meet federal government's target? Because the federal government's target for 2022 is actually 1.6 million barrels per day. So if we're able to get up to 1.42, in May, is there a possibility that we can still meet that target?
Well, nothing is impossible. But as I speak to you today, or right now, as a loyal Nigerian, some of the reasons people are giving for the low productivity or the low production output in Nigeria, whether to meet the OPEC quota or to meet our internal budget volumes, are wrong. Some of the reasons are completely wrong. A lot of people are attributing it to subsidy and attributing them to 1,001 reasons. They are completely wrong. I even hear some people saying we are having low productivity because of the coronavirus. Some people are connecting it to Ukraine, Russia. What is not correct? The reason why Nigeria is not doing well is because as far as the oil and gas industry is concerned, which probably could also be across the country, because there is what I can best describe as harsh operating climate in Nigeria. There is harsh operating or business climate in Nigeria, and specifically in the operating areas where these oil companies are operating. Because as I'm speaking to you right now, quote me, because we are speaking to the global community and on air, quote me that I said in the whole of Nigeria today, when you take the land drilling rigs, the swamp drilling rigs, the shallow water drilling rigs, and the deep offshore drilling rigs, there are no up to 10 active drilling rigs in Nigeria operating today. And if you don't have active drilling rigs, how can you drill new wells? How can you produce additional crude oil? There was a time in this same country where only one company, operating company will have more than 10 active drilling rigs. And the only reason why we are experiencing this is because the operating climate is harsh. Many of the international oil companies have divested out of their land, swamp, and shallow water oil and gas assets. They are all leaving because the environment is very harsh. And let me explain what I mean by business climate hostility. As I speak to you right now, security is affecting their operation. So the cost of security is very, very high. They are experiencing issues with what we call JD or cash costs. Then even the operating cost in their offices is very, very high. They too rely on diesel. So when I hear many people talking theoretically, many of those people don't know what they are talking about. This oil company, when you go to the swamp rigs, the land rigs, and the deep offshore, they are using diesel. And the cost of diesel is very, very high. Many of them cannot afford it. Then by the time they are able to manage, they pay for security, they pay for accommodation. Even the products that they will produce, whether crude oil or gas, will be stolen through vandalism and other activities of vandals. So anybody who tells you that it is because of subsidy is not correct. And the operating model we are using is completely wrong. Because any country you go to, if there is leadership docility, if there is insecurity, if there is no energy, there is no way the economy of that country will make progress. It's not possible. These are practical indices. And I'm talking to you as a player in the oil and gas industry and somebody who participates in some of these activities or drilling meetings or exploration meetings every day. So I'm talking to you as somebody who has the facts. Only cost of diesel is already chasing many of them out.
Okay, let's take you from some of the points you mentioned. You talked about the fact that we're having a harsh operating climate, and that you also try to explain by talking about security and energy, and also talking about the fact that some of the companies are even divesting and all of those things. Now, in the face of all these challenges, is there something that can really be done to address these issues, and what are these things?
Fantastic. That's an excellent question. The first thing you do is to make, if you want to get investors and you want your economy to grow, the first thing you need to do is to think of what you need to do to make your country or nation an investment haven. You have to make it attractive. So let us even start with the Petroleum Industry Act. Some of us were saying we needed to be careful with some of the clauses that were there. I can tell you the Petroleum Industry Act today may never favor investment. But people didn't believe it. A lot of people were thinking it's just to create a harsh climate so that we will get volume of naira. But when you get so much volume of naira, but the value relative to international currency is worthless, then you are not going to grow. So the first thing they need to do, let them go back, even that Petroleum Industry Act. Let them look at some of those clauses. Look at the area where they were predicating the regulation on imports. How can a country that has a very weak currency, that due to depreciation or devaluation, and a country that is experiencing insecurity, and a very poor country like Nigeria, predicate the price of refined petroleum products on imports in a deregulated manner? Meanwhile, you have the raw material here. People forgot that some of these operating companies, they use cooking gas also. They use petrol also. They use diesel. They use kerosene and the rest. When you do that, you don't need anybody to tell you that the climate will be very, very harsh. So when I hear people talking, the first thing we need to do is to accept that we have been on the wrong economic trajectory. And let us look at the entire oil and gas industry and see the restructuring mechanism we are going to apply to it. Because when you talk about sectoral mechanisms, they are like four, the ones I know. And any of them can work depending on how you properly apply it. The regulation works if you apply it to the appropriate sector. Privatization works. Commercialization works. And liberalization also works, depending on how you apply them. But as far as I'm concerned, the way the Nigerian oil and gas industry is being driven and is being moved, I'm telling you, more and more investors will run away and look for better investment unless the Nigerian economic leaders in this case recalibrate their strategies, call real practitioners to sit down and discuss in national interest. And the kind of practitioners that need to sit down and talk and discuss are energy journalists like you, oil and gas accountants, oil and gas engineers, oil and gas environmentalists, oil and gas lawyers, and the rest in national interest. So, and what is happening now is a clear case of having natural resources is not enough. But you must have the enabling policies and laws that will make things to work. And while talking, if you will allow me, let me just jump into subsidy.
All right, quickly.
If you look at the...
Quickly, go ahead.
Okay, look at the case of subsidy. I was ashamed when so many people that were very, very theoretical were thinking if we remove subsidy on distillate. Whenever I use the word distillate, I'm referring to the refined petroleum products. They said when we remove subsidy, there will be revenues. And I was happy with the way they did some of our Nigerian leaders, and we started removing the subsidy in stages. If you want to remove the subsidy in all the products, then ask yourself basic questions about the other products we remove subsidies on their prices. As I speak to you right now, we have removed subsidy on the price of kerosene. We have removed subsidy on the price of diesel. We have removed subsidy on the price of aviation fuel. Let any of those people that we are proposing subsidy show me any practical benefit of the removal of subsidy on any of these products. Let them show one. Are investors coming in? The answer is no. Are companies booming? The answer is no. Are they growing? The answer is no. And let me explain one by one the losses that we have already experienced on the removal of subsidy on the price of these three products. On kerosene, let me start with kerosene. Because of the removal of subsidy on the price of kerosene, people have gone back to the use of firewood and are contributing to global warming and data encroachment. That was what we have benefited. We haven't seen any savings that has led to the building of schools or paying settlement of ASU or hospital or road construction. Come to diesel. We remove subsidy on the price of diesel. Virtually all the strategic, commercial and industrial sectors are all collapsing. Many radio and TV stations now do not work 24 hours because they cannot afford the cost of diesel. They cannot break even. That's what we are seeing. Many, and as I speak to you, because of the removal of subsidy on the price of diesel, the company income tax for this year will go down. Personal income tax will go down because when companies or corporate entities start hiring their staff, then there will be no personal income tax. Watch it that I say so. And if you go to hospitals now and you go to hotels and the rest, they are barely managing because you will see like a hotel that is supposed to have 100 guests. Even if they have 20 guests, they will be. All
right, Mr. Bala, let me come in here.
The night. How can they break even? They move to the aviation sector. Everybody is seeing what is happening in the aviation sector. As you see today, we are experiencing flight cancellation, flight delays, and the starting of staff. Meanwhile, refined petroleum products and refining is elementary chemistry. So who is fooling who? So if you remove subsidy in the price of diesel, diesel, kerosene, and aviation fuel, and Nigeria is sinking deeper into economic hardship, will it make sense to go and say you want to remove subsidy in the price of
All right, Mr. Bala, in wrapping up, in closing, let me ask you this question. Well, a lot of persons, like you rightly said, believe that removal of subsidy will help, will make us see, some turnaround in some other sectors and all of that. Now, with the non-performance of this removal of subsidy in the areas that you have mentioned, what is it attributable to? Is it a failure on the part of government in that it didn't deliver on certain metrics? Or what exactly is responsible for what we are having now? Situation where there is removal of subsidy on the one hand, and on the other hand, there is no impact whatsoever.
God bless you for that question. Those who are advising government are those who are psychopaths, trade fingers and deceivers. People have forgotten that all these products I mentioned are products that are supposed to provide energy. The reason is because in the last 30 years or so, the generation of leaders we inherited did not maintain the refineries they inherited, and they did not construct new ones. That is on one side. Then another thing again that is happening about the removal, people have forgotten that we are a population, we are a country with a population of about 200 million citizens, relying on less than 10,000 megawatts of electricity. So where do we get the energy from? Where will the barber get the energy from? Where will the hairdresser get the energy? The only way is to go back to generators. And when diesel is very expensive, you only use petrol generators to generate energy and power. And any country where there is no power, that country can never grow. Go to hospitals. So when they say they will remove subsidy and control hospitals, if there is no electricity and power at the hospitals, what will be the value of the use of the hospital? If you control schools and there is no electricity. So people are using this petrol now to provide energy. Petrol is not towards Big Brother Nigeria. It's not for consumption. Because when you go to the barber, he doesn't bring the petrol. It is what we use to be able to get the energy to bath or cut hair. The same thing with the salon owner. The same thing with that person managing a pharmacy. But people don't understand. They say it's consumption. What may be a consumption to you may be a process or a catalyst for somebody to achieve the crystallization of raw materials into finished goods.
All right, thank you so much, Bala Zaka, for your thoughts on the show today. We do appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, we've been speaking with Bala Zaka, a petroleum engineer and chartered accountant. And then coming up after the break now, Nigerian banks' non-performing loans ratio jumps to 5.3% in April 2022. Now, what is the implication of this on the banks as we assess the first quarter growth and other issues? Well, that's our next talking point. Stay with us. Don't go away.